And we are back. Today I am joined by the living legend, Andy Mezirow. Captain Andy, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Man, listen, I'm used to seeing you in Alaska attire. I'm seeing you in your Hawaiian garb. I like this.
That's it. It's a nice way to spend the winter.
Yeah, you're looking good, man.
Yeah.
I
Get a little older, you got to start being healthy.
oh, what have you done?
Well, just eating correctly and exercising instead of the usual fishing debauchery. I've given most of that up and just trying to prolong my fishing career, You get to that point where it starts to get a little harder to do stuff. So you got to do something about it or you don't get to go anymore.
No, I listen, I get how old are you now?
I'm 63.
Wow. Okay.
Time flies.
Listen, I've said it once, I've said it 100 times on this fucking podcast. Life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes, man.
That's it. That's
So,
why I try to fish 200 days a year now instead of just being satisfied with the summer season in Alaska.
no, that's good. Now, explain to me what you've done as far as your diet. You said eating healthier, but what exactly have has that encompassed? Because it's tough
I
sometimes
quit
on the
drinking a
boat.
few years ago, right? So that helped, but I also don't, I just quit eating lousy food, It's not eating crappy food makes you feel bad and it also makes you fat. So I just quit doing that and started eating more like my wife and weight came off. Just get a little exercise every day. It's not that big a deal. It's not that big of an adjustment. And it makes me feel so much better that, you know, I can do things that I couldn't do for a while because I was too heavy and eating crappy, and now I'm got the energy back and feeling good and fishing out here with the young guys in Hawaii and enjoying it and got a good
That,
full season scheduled for 2026 in Alaska. So it's all good, man.
that'll definitely do it. What would you say the biggest thing that you've cut out besides drinking? What's the biggest thing you cut out of your diet? And the reason why I ask, I'm 52. And I've myself, had to lose some weight, and I've no processed food. I like to
Yeah,
cook,
I
so
try
it's
to
easy
shy
for
away
me.
from processed food and sugar-laden drinks and stuff like that. It's just not, I'm not crazy about it. I'll still eat ice cream if it feels like it's the right time, just not all the time. I just reduced what I'm eating and a little bit more exercise and just sort of over a long period of time, I've shed some weight and feeling better. I haven't done anything crazy like, I don't not eat until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't, do anything like that. It's just less of everything is all. And it was pretty easy, really, once I put my mind to it.
And what kind of exercise are you doing? You said you're doing it daily. So what
I mean,
what
usually
is
I'm just going for a good walk through the hills or, on the treadmill if it's in Alaska or whatever I can do to just get out there and do something every day. That's sort of where I leave it. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just, a half an hour, 45 minutes, just some effort every day. And then it just becomes a habit and you feel like you're screwing up when you don't do it. And, it's just, I'm not as busy now as I used to be. I'm not doing fisheries management anymore. I'm not doing winter work. I'm just fishing all the time. And it's a lot easier when you don't have kids in school and, a regular job that you're using to support your fishing habit and all the other things that make you super busy that makes it hard to do it. I just have more time now too.
no, that helps. I was just looking at my numbers this morning, and a big chunk of my audience is our age, but there's a huge audience that is the generation just behind me, which is that, 34 to like 55 or 50, 45, and it creeps up on you right there at that end of 40s, beginning of 50s. And it would be nice to, give everybody not necessarily a plan but at least understand what's going to come. I had Andy Pease on a couple of weeks ago, and he's been working out. He's 56. He had just finished an elk hunt in Montana, and he was talking about, the 6 months of training he put in. And listen, being 50 and 60 years old isn't like what it used to be when we were kids.
No, and I'm selling fish over here, so every tuna that I catch here, first I have to pull it in and then put it in the boat and pack it with ice. But then in Kona, we don't have like a fish house or something. I have to carry every fish off the boat, wheel it up the dock, lift it into my truck, lift it out to the fish buyer. You catch five or six big tunas. It's a lot of work every time you do that. And so this my life here is way more active too. It's like in Alaska, you can get ice blown in your boat and you unload the fish and somebody wheels them up the dock and then you can cut them. It's not the same thing. Here, it's much more physical to do it. So
You
it's all
you
been
got
good.
you got to actually do the work. And I just can't let you go by. For the people that aren't familiar with it, could you please describe what getting ice blown on your boat is? Because for people that are not in the industry, they don't understand what that's about.
Yeah, like in Alaska, we can pull up to a fish house and they put a big uh, articulated hose down into your boat and you can blow as much ice as you want in there. And here in Hawaii, you fill a 33-gallon garbage can with ice and then drag it down the dock and lug it on the boat on your side. And I need, 400 or 500 pounds to go fishing, and each garbage can's got 80 pounds of ice in it. So it's, six garbage cans of ice you got to move every single time. And then the same weight coming back out of fish if you've done halfway decent. So it's just more work is all. And I'd rather have it be like it is here. It tends to limit people's ambition to kill as many fish as possible because it's so much work to do it. It slows everything down and probably has preserved the fishing here more than if there was a facility that could just crane your fish off and crane your ice and bait back on and, that sort of industrial way. It just doesn't happen like that here.
Listen, that's a good way to describe it because it's definitely I've now you're on the what island you're on? You're on the Big Island, right?
Yeah, I'm on the Kona side of the Big Island.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I was, and I'm not knocking anything, but if you're fishing out of Hanakahau, you're lugging everything.
Yeah, no,
You're
definitely.
there's there's nobody blowing ice on your boat and craning anything off. If there's getting something craned off, it's you by yourself.
It's a great spot to fish, though. There are so many talented fishermen, both marlin guys, big game guys, like you, and also, just the local commercial fleet. These guys are so skilled at fishing here. It's completely different than other places where, pretty much everybody here has grown up on the water that's fishing, that's from here. Their father was mostly a fisherman, and maybe three or four generations before that. And that kind of generational local knowledge is just, there's nothing that compares to that. I'm fishing with guys that have half the technology that I have here, and they can look at some birds and see what they're doing, or look at what time of year it is and the porpoises and just know. They don't have to use electronics to outfish me 4 or 5 to 1 still. And I've been here a while, and it's awesome and humbling to fish here around these guys.
Now, when I text you the other day, I was flying back home, and you're like, I leave on Monday and I come back on Thursday. Now, are you spending day and night 4 days out there, or those are just the 4 days you fish?
Yeah, no, I fish during the week. That I think the best fishermen on this island are guys that used to be commercial fishermen and then they grew up and got a regular job and they go out on the weekends to supplement their income. Those are the real, highliners here. They have beautiful boats still. They know just what they're doing and they go out and fish hard like from Friday night to Sunday, and it supplements their income, right? And so I tend to fish from Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday, so I'm not dealing with that because it's you pretty much watch them catch all the fish when you do that. And so that's
It's
kind of,
it's frustrating.
I'm not the only one. I mean, there's a whole bunch of us that go during the week. It's just less crowded, and the good guys can have it to themselves and don't have to deal with us. And it works out to be, and I get to spend time with my family on the weekend, so it works
No,
out good.
that's a good thing. Now, are you going and coming back out every day? You just go out
Well,
for
right
one
now
day?
I'm on the night shift. That's the thing. Is normally you can catch enough fish here during the day to make it work, and it was like that until a few weeks ago. And so once it slowed down on the day, then I switch over to night fishing, and then I fish all night from like 7 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning, which is what I did last night.
So you just got home a little while ago.
Yeah, I just unloaded my fish. They only buy fish from 6 to 10 in the morning, so I unloaded the fish I caught last night, and now I'm home, and then I'm gonna go sleep for a while and go to the beach.
Man, I'm keeping you up.
No, it's good.
Okay, good. I don't want to keep you up. If I listen,
How
if
can you sleep when it looks like this out? It's
oh
hard to
my
do.
God, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
How long have you been going to Kona?
Well, I've I've had a boat here for 12 years, and I think we've been coming here all winter for 15.
Okay.
So it's a pretty long time now. It's taken a while, you know. This is not easy fishing here, and it's not an easy place to fish. It just takes a while to sort of get integrated and learn the ways here that are different than they are elsewhere. And, you know, a lot of
It's
it's just about being respectful to other people out here. You know, if you go
it's
racing around, maybe like they do in South Florida, where somebody yells at someone else and shakes their fist at you, it's different here. You don't want to do that here.
no. Well,
There's
here's the
not a lot
thing.
of yelling that goes on here, but I think if you, you know, behave in a disrespectful way, you're going to find out about it in a very real way. So
Somebody will show up behind your boat.
it's just better to tread lightly here and be respectful of the local knowledge and the local Hawaiian people, and then it's smooth sailing. And I've been here so long now and made friends with guys, and they all know who I am, and they welcome me back, and it's a super fun environment. But you know, when you're first coming in any place, if you act incorrectly, you're going to know about it, and more so here than elsewhere. So it
If
was a
you
learning
act like an
process, and
asshole, you'll find out really quick you're an asshole.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was very lucky when I went out there. I became really good friends with Randy Lanas, rest his soul. Uh,
Yeah,
and clicking with him, considering he has like 109 or 110 first cousins on that island, it was uh, it was very beneficial, that I got along with him and got introduced to his whole family. It was a huge thing.
yeah, me too. Bomb Boy and all those guys are really good at letting people opening the door for people and then letting them make their way here. And there's others too. There's a young Lannis now that's a highliner, young 19-year-old kid fishing out of a skiff that's out fishing everybody all the time now. So the
Really,
tradition's been passed. Yeah, absolutely. He's an absolute hammer over here. So um, it's nice to see that, you know, that knowledge get passed on and the younger generation coming up and making a go of it.
I remember a couple years back, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Uncle Kenny called me up during the World Cup, and we're hooked up. All right, Uncle Kenny, cool. And then like 20 minutes later, he calls me back, non-qualifier. I said, "Oh, you released it?" He goes, "No, no, just non-qualifier." And I'm like, "Enough said, Uncle Kenny." I understand what you mean. You're feeding the family. I'm okay with that. I have no questions
Yeah,
about it.
it's different here.
Totally, totally. It wasn't uncommon in the morning before you pulled out of the harbor. Hey, we have a wedding this weekend, or we have something this weekend. If anybody catches a marlin that comes up dead, let us know. It never goes to waste.
No.
It it
I
it
don't
never
kill them
goes to
here
waste.
just because they're too heavy and too much to deal with. I generally, unless I have no choice, I try not to even catch them, which is difficult. There's a lot of them here.
Man, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what everybody goes for. It's what it's known for. Um, on average, what are you catching as far as number of fish and weight? What size tunas are they?
I this morning I sold a 137 pounder gutted and gilled and a 117 pound ahi, and that's all I caught for the night. I mean, I caught a couple sharks and had one other tuna that got, you know, eaten by sharks, but the price is good, and if I can sell, you know, 300 or 400 pounds for my trouble, it's totally worth it.
It gets you out of the house. It gives you some
Yeah.
exercise.
$7 a pound. It's not that bad if it's at. I generally don't sell fish here if it's less than $5 a pound, just because I don't need to do this here. I need to do what I do in Alaska to make money. But here, you know, if I'm covering expenses and I get to go out and participate in an awesome fishery with some other great fishermen, it's totally worth it for me. And some years I do okay, and some years I break even or less, but whatever, it keeps me coming over here and doing it, and it's so fun, you know.
No, you're catching fish. It's not sitting at the dock. And
If you
it's
love to fish, just fishing 90 days in the summer in Alaska is not enough. It
no,
leaves you
no,
wanting to fish more. And blue water fishing is, you know,
totally
awesome.
different.
Yeah.
It's totally, totally different. And it doesn't hurt that it's flat calm every day.
No, definitely not.
Oh,
I
that
mean, it doesn't hurt. It's nice here almost all the time.
Yeah, you gotta love that. That's one thing I would never complain about. Is look, you don't have to look at the weather.
No, really don't.
That's a good. I remember one time while I was out there running the Sapo, it was cloudy. Something you don't see very often in Kona. I'm like, man, it was cloudy today. This is new. And I got home and from fishing and whatever, I didn't have cable. Put on whatever local news on. And for those on the Kona side, Hilo got hit by a tropical storm today. And I'm like, We never felt a fucking thing, man.
No, I mean they fish in rough water off the other side of the island and the north and south points there. There's really good fishing and it's rough there frequently, but the Kona side, it's so pleasant. I mean, there's guys out here trolling jet skis and kayaks, catching tunas from kayaks here. So it's like that. I mean, it's
I
not always great fishing here, but when it's good, it's really good. And I mean, it's not always great fishing anywhere, really.
That's
So
fishing. That's why they call it fishing and not catching.
yeah.
You know, I
It seems
remember.
like in Kona, the secret is to know when not to go. Like when the conditions are wrong and the fishing's not going to be good, you don't want to go burn a bunch of fuel looking for fish that aren't here. And then when the conditions get right and the current starts pushing in towards the island one way or the other, then you know it's probably time to go. And that's what I do. I don't just go out and not catch anything very often because I don't go and it's not a good time to go.
What are you looking at something online? Are you looking at current charts or something?
No, generally I go out and look at the fads and the buoys and see which way the current's running. And usually, it'll run here for weeks at a time in the right or wrong direction. And so as long as it picks a direction and goes for a few days, it seems to be like a good time to go. It's when the current is just moving back and forth from north to south and it never really decides. And so you have not much movement and not any long direction. That's when the bait doesn't get pushed up on the ledges and all the stuff doesn't happen. I'm sure it's the same way in other places that, you know,
Very
if the
much
bait's
so.
pushing in, the current's pushing in, the bait shows up and it's go time.
Yeah, it is like that in a lot of places, but I remember it Hawaii being very, very specific on that, where if you're fishing a certain location, and listen, I was a kid. I say a kid, I was 40 years old, but it's not like I grew up there. And I've had people call me up, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm fishing over here. Hey man, we all moved because the current switched. It's pushing offshore. I'm like, fuck, I didn't. Okay, I'm moving. But luckily I had people that were nice enough and they treated me well, and uh I tried not to be an asshole. I'm really good at being an asshole. You don't want to try to out asshole me.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was an article written in a magazine. I think it might have been the old Big Game Journal or something that was like a technical document on how to fish the big island of Hawaii. And it really laid it all out there. And I used that when I first came here, just as a sort of guideline of where you want to go and the current's going one way or the other. But then as I got to know people and talk to them, I figured out a little bit more. I still don't really know. I mean, there's still places where it's a mystery to me, but certainly know if the current's pumping in one direction or the other and in towards the shore. So if it's going from the north and in or the south and in, there are places that consistently start to get good fishing after a day or two of that going on.
Are you at nighttime, are you trolling or are you chunking for them?
No, I'm yeah, no, it's a Japanese technique they call ikashibi. So what you do is put out a parachute or a sea anchor and drift with lights under the boat. The squid come under the boat and you catch the squid and then you put them out and chum. So it's kind of like live bait fishing on a sea anchor.
Okay. Are you
Yeah.
staying up all
I
night
mean, it's
long?
real odd. It's a real odd deal. Yeah, I do it. But the fish come up under the boat and you can see them on the sounder, and it's time to start exerting effort when you start to mark the tunas under the boat.
So you don't waste too much energy until you mark something.
No, I mean, I put the baits out, but I move pretty slow. And then once I start marking targets, then I know it's time to start chumming and sort of keeping on it a little more. Yeah.
Are you out by yourself, or do you
That's a difficult topic. Like I am out by myself sometimes, but usually my family doesn't like me to go out at night and fish by myself. So
I
like at
had a
least I'll go
feeling
with
you're
another boat.
okay.
I'll make sure there's another boat around that I can talk to when I'm out there and stay in touch with. And I'd rather go with somebody else. It's a little sketchy at night, climbing up on the front of a 25-foot skiff and throwing a sea anchor out and catching these big fish. And it's not the tunas. Like I can handle tunas by myself. I go out during the day by myself all the time, but there's big thresher sharks. I caught one last night that was probably like 300 pounds, and they're just so powerful. And they don't fight like a tuna fights in a way where you kind of know what you got once you get them on. Thresher sharks fight more like a swordfish or something, and you don't know until you see them. And yeah, they're the sharks are what are difficult at night. They fight and they're not predictable and they mess your gear up. So
And
I try
thresh.
to go with someone when I can at night, but if not, at least I'll go with a friend and be able to see their boat when I'm out there, within a mile of them and know there's someone out there. So,
That's not too bad. But thresher sharks, you got to be careful with their tail.
oh, they're just so strong even without their tail. When they fight, they're so
Oh my
powerful.
God. I've had them where you get them up alongside the boat and you don't have to worry about the teeth. It's their tail they want to start throwing at you all the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Now, what about daytime? How are you trolling for them then?
Not frequently. I mean, I have all trolling gear and I used to troll here all the time when I first came here just because but no, I fish mostly with live bait during the daytime. And sometimes I'll drop chunk baits down deep. So the tunas tend to go deeper during the daytime here. So they're
Uh-huh.
down like 600 feet down
Okay.
or more. And so we'll drop down baits down that deep to them and catch them that way.
All right. Catch any swordfish at night?
I haven't, but other guys do. I thought
Okay.
I had a swordfish when I had that thresher shark on. That's what I thought it was at first. The way it was shaking its head, I thought I'd finally caught one. But I know a guy that caught one that was 278 out of a 23-foot skiff by himself at night.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
with
so
no
cool.
flying gaff or gun or anything, like a straight gaff and a baseball bat. That's full on Hawaiian hammer
Dude,
style right there.
that is bravery.
Yeah.
That is brave. Listen, those guys out there, and he hasn't fished for a while, but for a long time, we had a 17-foot Boston whaler that would fish the World Cup every year
Holy cow.
out of Kona. And all I could think of, you know what? This guy is just probably trolling around, and once that fish hooks up, he's just going to sit up in the bow and let him tow him around.
There's a lot of that here. It's surprising some of the boats you see out fishing and catching.
Yeah.
It really is.
Do you
And you've been there, you see it where you see like a 14-foot Livingston getting towed down the road with a couple of 130s in the back of it. It's pretty awesome.
Yes, I almost shipped my flats boat out there. I have an 18-foot flats boat, and I'm like, if I do this, I'm just gonna put one 130 on my polling platform because it had rod holders. And I said, just I'm gonna pull one, and I'm just gonna put some music on. I'm gonna go up and down the rip.
I put in for that CCA auction where you can win a flats boat, and I thought I'd do the same thing. I was like, oh, if I win it, I'll bring it over here and catch a tuna off it and put it on social media.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do it, it's the place to do it. You know, the
Yeah.
weather's good. You're fishing so close to shore. And speaking of, do you do any of the Ono fishing close to the rocks?
It's coming up soon. There are some right now. They're just starting to show up further south. So that'll be in the next couple months that's going to go on,
Okay.
which is exciting too and fun.
The only issue with that is you got to pay for people that've never fished Hawaii. You got to pay really close attention because if you turn your back to the forward of the boat, you're so close to the beach in some spots, you can hit a rock.
It's crazy and you can catch tunas in there too. And it's crazy what you can catch right next to the shore in Hawaii in the right places. It really
Yeah,
is.
you're right
I
up
mean, they're
on
catching them off the shore. They're catching yellowfin tuna and onos and marlin off the shore. So
it.
pretty
It's a,
crazy.
it's a giant volcanic fad is all you're on out there.
I kind of feel like Ascension Island is just a more remote version of that too, just an oasis in the middle of the ocean. And when it's on there, it's, probably like it used to look here 40 years ago.
Now, is Ascension volcanic like Hawaii is, or I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't.
It
Yeah, I'm
kind of
not
looks like
sure.
it.
It looks like it, and I know it's right on that mid-Atlantic ridge, but I don't know if it's volcanic. Listen, I'm not a geologist. I'm not a volcanologist, so I'm not 100% sure. But it is built like that because I know a lot of guys as they're moored out, they're catching tunas and wahoos at night.
Yeah.
You know, so well, let's go from Hawaii to where most people know you from is Alaska. Uh,
Yeah.
that's where you cut your teeth.
Yeah, definitely. And I still love fishing there. I mean, fishing for king salmon is super fun. And, I've been doing it forever. So it doesn't require that much effort to go be successful for me there. I've kind of I mean, I say that now and I'll probably suffer horribly the first couple days I go out there, but generally speaking, once you get them dialed in where they are in Alaska, you can catch fish there, and there's a bunch of fish and not that many people fishing for them, and so it's super fun there too. And the scenery is so beautiful and people are so excited to be up there that my intention is to continue fishing until it's too painful to do it anymore.
No, and listen, and now you're in shape and lost some weight. That means another 30, 35 years.
God, I know.
Don't look at me like that, man. So this morning I was talking to Naomi and she goes, you got any podcasts today? I'm like, oh, I'm talking with Captain Andy Mezirow from Alaska. Tell him I said hello. She was so
Right on.
excited when I told her I was talking to you today. We
That
had
was a
such,
fun day
oh
we had
my
out there.
God, we had so much fun. We had a ball. She caught a lot of salmon that day.
Yeah. We had a phenomenal year last year for salmon. The year before it was pretty slow. The silvers didn't really show up. Almost probably the worst silver salmon year 2 years ago that I had seen. And then this last year was the best. And what the biologist said is that the year before last, there was an incredible number of red jellyfish that had come in around the coast. Maybe because it was a warm year, who knows? About every 5 years we get that. But it was so bad that they thought that the salmon didn't return and they just went back out to sea. And so last year we had like a double run. So they
Oh,
were big and they showed up early and stayed late. It was definitely like when I first started fishing in Alaska and fishing was relatively untouched. It was like that last year. It was just phenomenal. There were so many salmon around. So
really?
yeah, and the year before we're like, oh, this is over. Look at how bad it is. We're never going to see good fishing. And then of course the next year it's twice as good as it was for any year before that in recent memory. And that's just fishing, You just can't know what the ocean is going to produce. You're just all my years in fisheries management, and it's really just an educated guess is all it is.
That's it. Man, listen, I've been doing fishery management now for 12 years. I've been on HMS. I just got appointed to ICAT. Uh, th yeah, they say there's science to it. Hold your finger up in the air and see where it goes.
Yeah, I've heard it's like trying to manage a forest for productivity, but you can't see the trees. Like
Wow,
that's
that,
essentially, what you're trying to do is, as long as we still define like maximum sustainable yield as a number that's the most you can take, you might get that wrong and take too many, and then you've done damage, or you might not take enough, and then there'll be too many. And maybe what we used to think was a full level of abundance is way more than we're used to now. It seems like that's what happened to them red snapper fishing, right? Like the science said there weren't enough red snappers, and so fishing effort was reduced, and then they came back to whatever 60-70% of their peak, and there were so many there that like people hadn't even seen it like that in so long that they're like, hey, it's great fishing now. We can stop with these restrictions. And the scientists were like, no, we're not at 80% rebuild. So we have to keep these restrictions. And then it just sat there like that, where they saw numbers of fish like they'd never seen before and they couldn't fish for them. And they got super frustrated and it became political. And it's because that they had to get to that high level of abundance to open it back up again. And they just couldn't get there with the science they had, even though everybody on the water was saying that was the case, right?
oh my gosh, if you get on those shallow wreck, and I say shallow wrecks, 100 foot or less, and you hook a red snapper, it's nothing to watch the water turn orange from all the red snapper.
They
I
follow
mean,
it up.
yeah, they just follow it up and they're everywhere. You
Wow.
just throw something, you don't even have to send it down to the bottom anymore. Throw top water. They don't care.
Well, I guess it's frustrating when the regulations suck, but it's a great success story that they've come back to the level that, you know, it's hard to get away from them.
There's one of the things I have an issue with, and you could agree, disagree, you can poo-poo it however you see fit. One of the issues that I have on the management side is communication with the public. This past year in ICAT, let's go back. In 2024, we went over our bluefin tuna quota by 50%. And When you do that with ICAT, the following year, you have to subtract that from your 25 quota. So in 2024, people had an unbelievable banger year. There was tuna that they haven't seen in places for 20 years. So now everybody's catching tuna, and what's the first thing they do is they cut the quota. And the people don't understand, why did you cut the quota? This is the best fishing we've ever seen. They spent more time trying to become conformant to the quota than saying, guys, this is what happened. You needed $100. I gave you 150. You got to pay me that 50 back. And now everybody's pissed off at ICAT and NOAA and everybody else. And it's like, I'm in the middle of it, so I understand it, but you need to explain that to the people.
You know what they did in Hawaii at the Western Pacific Council? They hired somebody that's like a fisheries omnibudsman, and it's a local Hawaiian guy that fishes in all these ports. Everybody knows him, and he goes and explains what they did and why to the locals that want to know in a way that you don't have to have a PhD in statistical population dynamics to understand. And I always thought that we should have done that in Alaska and hired a couple people that are fishermen, maybe an Alaska native and a non-native guy to go into these communities and explain to people, why are we doing this? What's the goal? What's the purpose? And I think, I mean, I know it's extra money that the government's spending on something, but when the public doesn't understand something, they'll either take matters into their own hands and make good sense of what they're doing, which could be harmful to the resource, or they'll just get frustrated and not participate. Where if they have someone decent, a guy like you, for instance, that's been fishing but also understands the language, go explain things, I think it would be a huge improvement and keep people just less. Once people get defensive and angry about something, it's hard to reason with them anymore. And I think they do a great job just if they could explain it to fish, have a fisherman explain it to fishermen, not a suit, you know.
It's funny you say that. I brought John from, he's part of Viking's governmental and conservation outreach program. He goes to all the fishery meetings. So him and I are at all these fishery meetings, and I had him on the podcast, and bluefin was one of the topics, sharks was one, the wind farms. And I told him, man, maybe we should do this every quarter, just to let people, so people can listen to it. So they have an idea what's going on in the fishery. And listen, I've talked with Noah. There was one time they were saying, well, nobody's reporting these catches. And I'm not trying to blame anybody. Uh, when I say that, I don't want to blame any fishing segment. Uh, and I said, well, you guys don't make it easy. Have you guys tried to go to your website? You're not a very user-friendly website.
No, I bet most people listening to this, if they went on the website and tried to figure out how many bluefin tuna were caught last year in the North Atlantic recreationally, it would take them somewhere between 15 minutes and 2 hours to find that if they made a legitimate attempt to dig through it. And even then, half of them wouldn't find it. And it should never be that hard to figure out what happened and why. It should be easy,
It should be
really.
very, very easy.
And all the
It,
money that recreational fishing generates for the economy, it wouldn't be that much to have things explained so that it's not that fishermen aren't smart. This is really a matter of being educated in that language that they're speaking. And people can understand how many fish were caught and why you need to take less if they know you took too many, but you got to explain it to them so they can understand it. And then they'll tell their friends and everybody's having the right conversation. Unfortunately, what happens is they get frustrated that they can't fish, and then they look to commercial fishermen and blame them. And really, all that's doing is opening the door for like environmental groups that don't want any marine resources harvested to, start separating people by what means they're using to fish and creating that kind of hostility. And it's not really, it's more a matter of communication, like you said. That's all it's necessary. And if people understood why you're making a sacrifice now so your kids can have better fishing in a few years, or you can, it's not that hard to do it, right?
yeah, I mean, guys, 1 year, all it is 1 year. They're gonna increase it back up this year, but you never communicated that.
Yeah.
You know, that's like smacking your kid and not telling him why you're mad at him.
Yeah, totally.
I don't have any kids, but if I did that, they'd probably have to, you know what? I better just wait. Dad'll tell me sooner or later. He's not going to tell me right now. Maybe he'll tell me next week why he's pissed off at me. Uh,
We're experiencing some Chinook salmon restrictions right now in Alaska, and some of it's for good reason. You know, the wild runs of Alaska origin king salmon have not been doing well. The ocean's warmed up a bit up there, and there's less available food for them for what they need right when they get out of the rivers. And so the runs are struggling right now. And there are restrictions that are coming because the in-river fishing has been greatly restricted in Alaska. Fortunately, you know, when we're fishing along the coast in Seward or Homer, Alaska, we're fishing on a mixed stock of salmon, and most of them are not Alaska origin salmon. They're coming from Canada or Washington or Oregon, where they put 250 million hatchery fish in a year to supplement their runs. And so most of the salmon we're catching sport fishing in Homer and Seward are fish that are hatchery fish from other areas that don't impact Alaska origin streams. And even though that's the case, I think there's some idea that we might catch some of those Alaska origin salmon, and so we face some reductions in recent years just to eliminate the possibility of encountering them at all. And I mean, we've had great fishing. We just get to keep less of them, but there's a lot of fish to catch in Alaska, so it's not, you know. And there's lots of silver salmon. They're available, and there's a big bag limit on those. So we go out and catch one king salmon a person, and then go fish for silvers, and everybody's still happy and um, you know, plenty of action to operate a fishing charter.
Explain to me about the king salmon with what you're saying. And again, me being an East Coast guy, my knowledge of salmon is probably 3% total. But one of the things I was always taught or thought, when they leave a river, they go, they spend their life in the salt water, and then they come back to the same river to spawn. Now, you're
Yeah.
saying some of these are from Washington or British Columbia?
Right. We're catching them while they're still out eating and getting fat before so they're not spawning ones. They're like king salmon live for 6 or 7 years. And so we're catching 4 and 5 year olds that are swimming out in the saltwater, feeding aggressively, building up their stores of fat and muscle so they can go spawn in a couple of years. And so we're intercepting those fish from other fisheries or other, you know, returns. But the amount we're catching is so minimal compared to the vast number that are going in that it's just sort of you could look at what the sport harvest of, you know, Alaska or non-Alaska origin hatchery salmon is, and it's like statistical clutter when they're putting 250 million of them in a year, and we're catching 34,000 on the North Gulf Coast. Like that many die by getting eaten by seals, or probably way more do. You know, it's a relatively small number that we're intercepting. It's not like there are whole commercial fisheries based on harvesting those. And so it ends up being, you know, in the commercial fisheries for salmon, fish closer to, you know, the shore where the salmon that they're catching are returning back. That's the idea, is they're catching the returning pink salmon and cohos and sockeyes. Like in Bristol Bay, when they catch all those sockeyes, those fish are all massing to go up the river systems of Bristol Bay. And so they have a pretty vibrant, growing commercial fishery there. And so that's sort of how it works, is the commercial fishery tends to target the salmon that are returning, where the sport fishery, we're kind of trolling off in the ocean for the ocean salmon that haven't really decided it's time to return yet.
The ones that are still cruising around as a
And
po
honestly, they're the best ones to eat too. Once they start to get the urge to return back to fresh water, they're not eating as much, and they tend to you know, sort of get ready for this big journey. And once that happens, most people I know don't think they're nearly as good to eat. Those, you know, ones that are out feeding on the ocean on the oily bait that they eat, the herring and, you know, candlefish and all this, they're the ones that are just at the absolute peak to consume them. So the good thing is the ones we're catching are like the most delicious salmon you could possibly get. And there's a pretty big demand to go do that. But, you know, the fishing's changed. I don't know how it is elsewhere, but I'm getting way more people that come up for the experience, and we'll catch salmon and they'll be like, "Hey, this is plenty of fish. Can we go look at a whale or a glacier or go look for some wildlife?" Like it's not like it used to be where once you catch salmon, then let's go kill rockfish and let's go kill lingcod and halibut. There's not as much of that sort of just filling the boat with fish mentality. It's more families coming up for the experience. It's expensive to travel to Alaska, and I'm getting a lot of families, and they want to catch fish, sure, but they also want to take advantage of their day on the water and see some other stuff they couldn't normally see. And so my trips have really changed over the years. I still get my fair share of hardcore salmon fishermen that want to fish all day for the biggest salmon they can catch, and I'm fine with that. But more of the business has become a little bit of a softer trip, and the other charter boats are doing the same thing. They're doing like a fish in fjords trip where they go fishing for half a day and catch bottom fish and then go look at the glacier and the fjords, and it's just more appealing. As things get more expensive and travelers are faced with the high cost of everything in travel, like the discretionary spending, they start to look at it and determine, well, if it's $2,000 to get on a boat for a day and we can go fishing and go glacier viewing, that's a way better deal than just spending the money to go fishing all day and doing one thing. And so it seems like, at least in Alaska, there's been a noticeable shift away from as many boats just going for killing as many big fish of all kinds as possible to this sort of little bit soft, which is great for me. I'm 63 years old in my 30th year of running fishing charters in Alaska. I don't mind an occasional trip to the glacier or going to look at some whales for a couple hours instead of, grinding it out for a few more salmon in the driving rain and wind. So I'm always happy when people want to come and just do whatever. And there's quite a bit of that now.
For me, and listen, I'm a hardcore fisherman and I have no problem fishing 15 hours a day, 20 days in a row. But as somebody now that just promotes, not just, but his primary goal is promoting the sport, I love to hear that more and more families are doing stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
it's a big thing, a few years ago, I forget where I was. I was at somewhere, and it was a big publishing company, a magazine company, and they had experts up on the stage talking about how we're losing fishermen and hunters. And I was out in the audience, and one of their C-suite people came up to me. Oh, Fly, you're here. How are you? What did you think of the presentation? What's your thoughts on what they had to say? And I said, well, listen, if I had to listen to those three motherfuckers, I'd quit fishing and hunting too. You need to get some fucking exciting people up there to talk about it because it's not just catching fish. It's going out, having fun, spending time with your friends, spending time with your family, memories, which is a huge thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're young, you want to just go kill as much stuff as possible once you get the fever. But as you get older and you have a family and you realize in order to include your family in these activities, maybe putting 15 hours in on the water just looking for a fish is more than it's fair to ask them. And the truth of it is, the future of all of this stuff that, you know, guys like you have made a living doing is you need the next generation to be enthusiastic about getting out on the water and doing something. And that way, fishing guys can keep guiding, boat manufacturers can keep selling boats. If it's just only about the maximum slaughter possible, it's just not sustainable for everybody that has a boat to go out with that. And so the more you can kind of broaden people and get more people involved in doing this kind of stuff, I think it's going to end up being better for the next generation.
No, I agree with you, and I've noticed that in the sport fish boats that they're building. When I first started, not just sport boats, but even the center consoles, where it was a helm and an aluminum T-top and a leaning post, and then as far as a sport fish, you just had a drink box, a hard drink box to sit on. Now you got cushions and you have a pretty inside, and which is nice. The whole family can enjoy. People want to go hang out on the boat.
See a lot more sea deck where people can walk around comfortably on the boat and not burn their feet. Like they're just more comfortable than they used to be. And I think the more you can make it comfortable, the more you're going to get people involved. I mean, I don't need that. I'm perfectly happy, with the hard fiberglass deck and putting the time in. But I understand, and I'm still in business and trying to be busy. And I think being flexible with people and understanding that everybody doesn't love fishing the way that you and I do, but they still like it and enjoy it. And if you can make it so that you're bringing some new people in, you're just benefiting the future for it.
No, you're 100% correct on it. if your first couple of experiences are nice, I don't even want to say they're perfect, but they're nice. You enjoyed it, you caught some fish, you're not freezing your ass off or got a third degree burn, sunburn, or whatever it is. You know, you went through, you had a good time, you laughed a little bit, you chuckled, and then you're going to go back, share the pictures. You know what? I want to do it again. And that, to me, that's important, you know. But again, we were talking earlier about our age. When I was 20, that was not the way I looked at
Yeah.
it, you
Yeah,
know.
once you make your wife and your child throw up on the boat on their early experiences fishing, it puts a pretty strong impression on them, and it you might spend a lifetime trying to undo it.
Yeah, that's one thing. I don't see it as often now because, listen, I talk to a lot of people. Hey, listen, if you think your kid's going to get sick, you need to know either one or two things. Soon as they're feeling bad, go in, or if you think it might be a little bit bad, tell them to hang out at the pool, you know, because once you burn them, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to
That
be
suffering is
hard.
a lasting impression to people when they're laying down on the deck of the boat like it's a Civil War infirmary pleading for mercy. They're not going to soon forget that.
Like a civil war, bro.
I once had 12 people out on the big boat when I was running it, and I had them all sick by 8:30 in the morning, and that's what it looked like. They were all just laying there in the wet deck. They didn't even care about it anymore. They just wanted to go in. That was just, yeah, that's what it reminded me of, a Civil War infirmary when I looked at that.
Oh my gosh, I never thought of it, but yeah, they don't. You're getting pelted by water. I don't care.
Yeah.
You look
It's better
cold.
to make them be comfortable with it and enjoy it. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. What for people that have never been to Alaska or thinking of going to Alaska, could you give us an idea what your normal season, because you guys have a lot of different species that you have to deal with. Uh, when do you start? What do you start fishing for? Because it changes throughout the season.
Yeah, so for me, because I have this going on here, I don't go back quite as early to start. I mean, typically people are coming up to Alaska from about the middle of May into September. And, you know, in Alaska, the fishing tends to get better as it warms up a little bit. So in May, there are some halibut to be caught, but they tend to be a little bit deeper. And then as the month wears on, they start moving into shallow water following the bait. And that's sort of when I would say by about the 20th of May, things start to resemble a summer season. And you have bait that's pushed in closer to the shore up in the kelp. And you tend to see salmon and halibut coming in and occupying their sort of early season grounds, which is at least in our area, May and June, you tend to see halibut and salmon up in shallow water in under 100 feet of water up in the kelp chasing herring that's spawning in capelin and other bait fish we have there. And so it's kind of like early season tends to be close to the shore in areas where there's a rocky shoreline, and there tends to be some rockfish, halibut, and king salmon. And then the next sort of dramatic thing that happens is we have a huge run of pink salmon that come in, which are not generally that desirable for people, sport fishermen, to retain for food. They're perfectly good to eat when they're fresh, but they don't freeze that well, and they're kind of small, and they're just not they taste like a rainbow trout. They're just not quite as much of a salmon as the other ones for eating them. So we don't target them, but what it does is the halibut start focusing on eating those things, because one pink salmon is a meal for halibut where they got to eat 50 herring, right? And so then they kind of move to where those salmon are, and they become a little bit more difficult to catch in that shallow water, because once they eat one, they're not biting anymore. And so then the guys tend to move out and fish a little deeper for the halibut that aren't in there, that are feeding on small baits again. And what I'll do is I will leave those areas and fish a little deeper for king salmon as well for about 2 weeks. And by the end of June, um, then the coho start to show up, the silver salmon, the rockfish are super abundant in June, and they're in off all the rocky pinnacles, and there's lingcod underneath them. And then for July and August, it's just kind of a busy mixed bag, which was kind of what you saw, where there's just the salmon are up off the different points up in the bays and passes, and there's kings mixed in with them and in their usual haunts. And then July and August is just kind of the peak of it, where fishing is pretty easy in terms of fishing in Alaska and during that time of year. Like if you were to fish in those 2 months, you probably see the best of it, except maybe for big halibut, which is in June for us. And you know, as August rolls around, the salmon start getting closer to town and closer in towards the shore because they're starting to look at spawning. And so by the second week of August, I'm not going more than a few miles from town and catching salmon because there's so many of them in there. They kind of funnel down in the fjords and they're pretty much aggregating within a couple miles of town. And so the last half of August is pretty easy fishing. And then once those spawning salmon, mostly silvers, cohos, and some pinks are out of there, then all that's left is the kings, and I move back out to the ocean capes like in later August and September and catch the king salmon. I get another shot at them for a couple weeks, and then I'm done, and I come over here. There are guys that start in late March. There's a tournament coming up here in 10 days in Homer, a winter king tournament where they go out and fish in the freezing cold, and there's like 2,000 anglers that participate in that tournament. Of course,
What?
it's the only game in town. And so, and the prize is $100,000 for first place. And so it's like a high dollar king salmon tournament, which I've participated in a couple times. It's really fun. It's a
What?
great event.
I'm gonna have to check. What's the name of it?
It's the Homer Winter King Derby.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to check that. I'm not saying I'm gonna fish it, but I'm gonna have to check it out and put it on my radar.
If you
Oh,
want to come up and fish it, I'll bring my boat over there and we'll go do it.
King Derby. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a super fun event just because everybody's been cooped up. I mean, it's 6 degrees below zero where my boat is right now in Alaska, and people are cooped up and they just want to get out and and the fishing is good there. Sometimes they'll catch 500 or 600 fish in a tournament. So people are actually going out and catching them. And then there's great prizes and it's a super fun event. But so there's guys that do charter all winter long in Homer for king salmon, a few. But it's the weather is so sketchy, and even in March when that tournament is, I have sat there and it is so cold that you have to take like a 15-minute rotation watching the rods while everybody else sits
Is
inside and
warm.
drinks soup and coffee.
I'm not that angry anymore, man.
Yeah, as long as you have a heated cabin, it's all good.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. I think I'd pay the entry to hang out with everybody at the parties, just to
Yeah, when
hang
I
out
was a
with a
kid, I
bunch of
used to go
fishermen.
fishing in Montauk, New York in the wintertime for cod and pollock, and they take the raw water cooling system and they plumbed it into a bunch of pipes under the deck and in the handrails so you could keep your feet and your hands warm while you were catching cod and pollock and stuff in the wintertime. And people would come and do that and just hang on the railing and kneel on the deck and stay warm. And if there are fish to be caught, I just think that fishermen will go do it because that's how they are. They're kind of eternal optimists and
No,
they're all looking for something different. And I just had a guy out with me last night that is a fisherman from Alaska and he'd never done night fishing and he just wanted to try it. He's like, sure, I'll stay up all night. I don't care. And we came out and he helped me out a little bit and it was super fun for him too. Fishermen are always looking for a new experience too.
yeah, no. Listen, well, that's why I travel so much because when somebody's, hey, would you like to come to Saudi Arabia? I didn't know there was water over there, but yeah, let's try it. And, I've been going there now 10 years.
Yeah. There's
Invite me
good
to go
fishing there too,
somewhere.
huh?
Oh my God, it's great.
Yeah.
Water's crystal clear. Water's like Hawaii. It's crystal
Yeah.
clear. Yeah, on the
There's a lot
Red
of
Sea anyway.
enthusiastic fishermen there too, huh?
Oh my gosh, they love it.
Yeah.
They love it. That's one of the reasons that I've enjoyed so much with helping them promote it as a sport. I mean, that's what I'm doing with them now is we put on the first ever international fishing tournament in the history of the kingdom. And then since then, we've been working on building the first ever fishing club over there. They don't even have a fishing club over there.
Hmm.
So now I just wrote a letter to somebody in the government to, hey, we want to open this club up and we created bylaws. We've given all the proposals, but again, it's government. It's like fishery management. It's slow.
There's people with a ton of money over there though, and if they enjoy fishing and they have a ton of money, they're well suited for that racket, you know?
Yeah, no, no. And listen, it's new, it's different. I mean, it's not like going out in South Florida where you see 200 boats on a Saturday, you know? It-
Yeah.
And I've gone out daytime fishing, nighttime fishing. Nighttime fishing is pretty cool because the city is lit up. And Jeddah on the Red Sea is, it's a bright spot. It's like being off of Miami. So it's way cool. But like you said, it's an adventure. I like adventures and I like meeting new people that want to learn something new. And I mean, the first time I went salmon fishing with you, that was the first time I did any kind of trolling like that for salmon.
Yeah.
And you even got Naomi to like it.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think also, you go and work with people like that and show them what your passion is and they buy into it. And, you're also going a long way to, you know, show people that we have common interests, and you might think you don't. And then now they know an American guy who's a whole lot of fun, who's got a lot of knowledge and enjoys fishing. And now I think generally speaking, people all get along. It's the governments that have trouble getting along.
Thank you
And
very
so,
much. You hit the nail on the head.
yeah,
You hit the
I
nail on
really
the
do think
head.
that's the case.
90% of the people have one goal. I want to provide and take care of my family and make sure my family's okay. That's it. That
Yeah.
is what 90% of the people in this world are trying to do. Then you got 5% over here and 5% over here that are really loud and obnoxious, and I don't want to listen to
They
anybody.
should go fishing more. That'd be better for them.
Then they could become, then it would only be two and two.
Yeah, you bet.
Listen, I've been on the boat where I'm the only person that speaks English, you
I
know?
bet you were still talking English to him all day long, weren't you?
Oh, ooh, I got a funny one that you got the kind of sense of humor like I do. I was on this boat. I had no fucking clue how to speak a lick of Japanese. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go up to the tower and I'm going to spot marlin because I might as well put myself to use. I can't say, hey man, you want to change this lure? Or I can't say anything else. So I went up to the tower and I learned how to say marlin in Japanese. It's Kajiki. You know what I didn't learn how to say? Left long or right long.
I actually fished in Kenya once in Mombasa on the Indian Ocean, and I went out on this boat. This was many years ago. I went on this boat that was like I don't know. It had like a 2 or 3 cylinder diesel engine. It looked like the African Queen. These guys didn't speak any English, but they have great fishing in the Indian Ocean in Mombasa. And we caught a black marlin, and I'm watching this thing take off, and I'm trying to communicate with the guy. And I'm like, hey, you need to go chase this thing. And he didn't really understand. And I kind of backed the drag off and I went over and I pushed his throttle in reverse and pointed to the fish and oh yeah, and he backed up on it. And we ended up catching the thing and it was gigantic. And they brought it back and it fed that village and they were all celebrating and just like a little bit of communication they probably caught. Oh, the other thing was they were hooking a ballyhoo through the head and dragging it on the water with a hook through its head and I showed him how to rig a ballyhoo. I probably revolutionized sport fishing in Mombasa once that guy started doing that on and he said to me he spoke very limited English but he asked me if I would send him Moldcraft Softhead and American Bodybuilding magazines, which was a strange combination, right? But that's all he could muster in English to me, and I was like, I did it. I went and did it. I sent him a purple Moldcraft and a bodybuilding magazine. I sent it to Africa. I don't know if he ever got it, but
Oh my gosh. Listen, if I ever go to Mombasa, there might be a picture of you framed in a fishing club somewhere.
still the largest marlin I've ever caught on a rod and reel after all these
Really?
years. Yeah.
Really? Kenya, I've never been over to Kenya. I was supposed to go to Kenya. This was right before COVID, and I had been asked to go over there to teach the local fishermen how to rig baits with circle hooks. And I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. I'm not even looking for sponsorship. I'll do it on my own dime. Just give me a place that I can sleep safely. That's all I ever ask for. I want to be able to go to sleep and not wake up with a fucking 12-foot python or a cheetah in my
Yeah.
room. And you laugh, and people might be thinking, man, I have woken up and seen some fucking animals in my rooms before, and it's like, what the fuck was that? That's
Yeah.
that's all I want. I don't want like a bobcat or lynx sitting on my, I want to be able to sleep in comfort, you
Yep.
know, with no fear. And but then politics got involved and I'm like, you know what? Fuck you guys. And it wasn't just on that side. It was also on the American side as well. There was like, we want him to do this, we want him to do that. No, no, he should do this. He should. I'm like, I'm paying for this. I'm not asking for money. I'm not, you guys aren't buying my flights, nothing. You're giving me a quantum hut to sleep in and a cot, maybe. So stop bitching at me or anybody else. I just want to meet some local fishermen and hang out. I mean, to me, that's why I like, nothing makes me feel happier than going into a country and somebody says, "Hey, I want you to come meet my mother," or "I want you to come meet my family. This is my family. I feed these 12 mouths from what I catch." To me, that's cool. You know,
Yeah.
that's a very important thing.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I think the people that you meet along the way are really what make it all, especially the fishermen you meet along the way, all from different places, all kind of doing the same thing, all have the same passion as you do. I mean, there's nothing better than getting together with a bunch of fishermen you don't know at the beginning of the night and being all friends with them by the end of the night. And you realize you really have all the same things in common. If you enjoy getting outside and fishing and hunting, you tend to, you know, want to link up with people that do this like the same things. I don't generally socialize with people that aren't fishermen or hunters. I mean, occasionally I'm forced to, but if I have my druthers, I'd rather be spending time with those people.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I got a small handful of friends that they've just been friends for so long. They've, I don't know, my tree grew around it, my trunk grew around them. But the majority of my friends, they fish or hunt or they spend time
Yeah.
outside,
Yeah, me
you
too.
know?
Almost all.
It's not like I hang out with a bunch of, ant farmers. Nothing against ant farmers. It's just, you know, so what'd you do that last summer? Oh, I went fishing in Croatia. I went fishing in Alaska. I went fishing here. And then we're going to go to Wyoming to go hunting. And then I shot a buffalo. Okay, cool, man. You know, your trophy room, I want to see dead animals in it or replicas of.
Well, at least you're starting out with one thing in common with other people that, you probably will find other things, but at least you're starting out with one piece of common ground, which is, you find your peace and you enjoy practicing the skills that you have being outside and being in nature. And that just automatically, if you have that in common, you may end up not liking the people, but at least you have that in common. And I think that's a good starting point to, I look for that everywhere I go. Even if I'm traveling in Europe or something and we're down by the water, I'll go try to talk to fishermen and let them know that I'm a fisherman in Alaska. And it's usually a great icebreaker to meet the people. And then they want to tell you about how they do it there. And you tell them, I mean, it's great, super fun thing to do.
I'm a little bit more reserved on telling somebody I'm a fisherman till somebody asks me what I do. Uh, just because I don't want to seem like that ugly American that's trying to tell everybody what to do. I just want to show,
Yeah.
oh, what are you doing? Oh, no, no. Oh, do you fish? Actually, I do. Okay. But if not, I'm like, well, that's not how I do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've reached this point in my life now, being a fisherman for so long, where pretty much every piece of clothing I own has been given to me by some sponsor. And so it's not really hard, you walk in an airport and you see a guy decked out in AFCO clothing. There's pretty much no doubt that he did not, buy those at the shopping mall because he liked the fashion. It's because he's a fisherman, right? Or any other brand of fishing clothing, right? You see people wearing that stuff and you sort of automatically like, oh, that guy's a fisherman.
Yeah.
He's got a beer in his hand and a pelagic shirt on in the airport. He was probably on vacation somewhere. Like it's not hard to see it.
And raccoon
And some
eyes.
people hide it better than others, but if you're a fishing guide, you probably wearing somebody's t-shirt around all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Listen, I try to, when I fly, I got a collared shirt and I try to kind of hide a little bit, but my backpack has something on it. I have two
Yeah.
clips on my backpack and they're red and green. People, red and green, I go port and starboard, man. I, I gotta know which way I gotta put the backpack on in case I gotta dip out at night. Oh, it goes this way.
Yeah. So I think that, the fishing industry is reasonably stable in Alaska. Appears to be a good year for tourism, which is good. It's actually gotten busier too. It was super slow in Kona, um, like in the fall before Christmas, but it seems like after Christmas, I look out of my lanai here and see the water, and I see boats fishing in all the usual locations out here. And the fact that you can see the charter boats out there, the number out here today, there's probably 10 in sight out here along the coast. Like it means that it's busy here and the guys are going. Earlier, you come here in September, kind of in between seasons, and they don't stay as busy. You don't see them out day after day. So it's good to
September
see things picking up.
September's a weird time because of that's when kids are starting to go back to school.
Totally.
Yeah, kids are
Yeah,
going back to
people have finished
school.
their summer vacation and they're back in the grind, and it always slows down here then and then picks up, before Thanksgiving. And then now we have like I think they stagger spring breaks now more, so you tend to start seeing people here, in March and April, and start seeing more families coming. And it's still so expensive to travel and to be here that it's probably weeding out some people, but I don't know. I think that the cruise ships and the resorts and stuff, both here and in Alaska, they do enough volume so that when the economic conditions make it tougher, they just discount the trips they have left open and fill the empty seats out. We don't really have that ability to do charter fishing because it's advanced bookings, and it's just you can't. It's sort of a race to the bottom when you only have the capacity of taking 6 people to be discounting. But when you carry 2,500 people on a cruise ship and you get 1,800 of them booked at the full rate, and then you just blow out the last few hundred seats to fill them up. That's what even in Alaska last year, like tourism was down 10%, but the cruise ships they stayed steady because they were able to discount and offer some great value for people to fill the last seats up. And we just can't do that in a small business and make it work. So,
No, yeah,
I mean, I
that's
stayed busy, but a lot of the guys sat.
no, that's not good that you sat, but or the people sat, but you've got to have a great clientele book.
Yeah, no, I stay pretty busy for sure. I have a really nice boat and been doing it a long time, and a lot of these clients have become my friends and they come year after year. So I'm in a good place now where I also don't have boat payments anymore or anything like that. So I can just go fishing. It makes it a little easier.
Yeah, that's nice. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't a couple years back you get inducted into the Captain's Hall of Fame?
Did.
Let's
Yeah, that
talk
was
about
awesome.
that, man.
Yeah, that was a huge deal. I really felt like, you work your whole life doing this kind of work and doing the fisheries management, and because you think you're doing the right thing. That's why I did it. I didn't like have some thirst for power or recognition. I did it because I thought that's what you do, you master the skills of fishing and that part of it. And then if you have gas left in your tank, you can do some fisheries management and start to make sure you're getting fair representation. And I didn't really expect to have that all get sort of evaluated by this committee of legendary captains, which they are. Those people that are on that committee are, the household names, and they looked at, the number of world records that I had submitted and my participation in fisheries management as the only recreational representative for all those years, kind of the only guy in the room that got it there. And, the fishing that I've done, and decided that I was worthy of receiving that Tommy Gifford Award. And, it's just to be recognized kind of at the later part of your career by your peers as somebody that did great work was super gratifying. And then to go there, to West Palm Beach, to the whole thing, and be sitting up there with these guys that are also household names and be recognized. It was an awesome honor. And you can't really angle for that. That's just something that happens naturally the way it's set up, which was great. And then I had some good friends of mine come up and say a few nice things about me, and got a trophy and got to hang out there and meet these people. And it was just really, the highlight of my career fishing. I mean, of course, the fishing is great, but to be recognized by your peers for the amount of sacrifice that you make, and unfortunately in fishing, when you're obsessed with it and you're making sacrifices to your personal life to do more fishing and to go further and stay out longer and all the things we do, there's at the end of it all, it's not like playing golf where you're good at it and you win huge PGA tournaments and you get rich doing it. The trap of being a charter boat captain is you never get rich doing it, right? And so really the only thing at the end of it that pays you back for that obsession and how hard you tried to make it work and innovate is getting recognized by something like that. And I felt like it was a huge, reward for the hard work. And I had never thought, boy, it would be great to do that. The guy that I know called me and said, "Hey, I was looking at your stuff and it looks like you might be the first guy in cold water fishing that we were going to induct into this thing. And, what do you
Oh,
think?"
wow.
And he said, "Can you send me a resume?" And I sent him a resume and what I had done. And then I got a call from Rob Kramer out of the blue, the head of the IGFA at the time, and just got the call that I was going to be admitted and they'd love it if I could come down to West Palm Beach. And so I flew in from here and went down there and it was totally worth it. It was super fun and everybody was gracious and yeah, it was an awesome experience. I'm glad to see a couple of guys here in Hawaii have got it recently too. So because there are some legends here that have really
Oh,
done some incredible things over their career. So
yeah, no, no. Listen, Hawaii is a hotbed for blue water fishermen. But yeah, when I saw your name up there, I'm like, oh, Captain Andy. Captain
yeah,
Andy's gonna be on there. And I thought, honestly, I thought it was way cool. And I thought it was way cool for the captains and crews because of the fact that offshore fishing is always so highlighted. But there's
yeah,
so much to our sport that's not just catching marlin. Um, I'm a fisherman. I've been very blessed that I made my career chasing after blue marlin and billfish and giant tuna and all that. But I'm just as happy going to Alaska and catching salmon. A couple years ago, Naomi and I went to Patagonia, went fly fishing. I just want to go fishing.
yeah.
I don't care what it is. I'll even go lobster fishing with my buddies up in Canada just to be out on the boat, you know?
Yeah, and it's really helpful for me. I fished quite a bit uh, years ago with Doug Olander, the editor of Sport Fishing Magazine, and so I got a chance to join him when he was doing these articles, and I'd ride along and fish, and they'd take pictures. But the thing of it is that when he'd invite me to do that, we were fishing with really great captains, and so I got the opportunity. I mean, I did 10 or 12 of those trips with him over the years, and I got to fish with some just absolutely top shelf captains. And so I was able to learn from them how they run their operations and then incorporate a lot of the same stuff in Alaska. Like I fished with Ray Rocher in Miami. I mean, that guy is so dialed into that fishery there. And it was like my eyes were opened wide. I fished with him for a couple days and I'm like, I could do all this stuff in Alaska that he's doing in terms of how he orchestrates a trip, the organization, the tackle, everything he does. I watched what he did and I'm like, this guy has got this at another level than what I'm doing. I need to up my game. And I did the same thing with Tim Richardson and Australia. I did it when I went to Panama. All these guys I fished with, like I learned something from all of them and it all made me a better man for it. And I think that's the value of traveling and fishing with other people and watching what they're doing is you learn how to make your own game better, right? And
Yeah.
so that's sort of how that all came about.
That's what our industry really, I mean, to this day, I don't go somewhere that I know if somebody else went there first, that I don't pick up the phone and call them up. Hey, I'm thinking of going blank. I heard you were there 10 years ago. Can you help me? Oh, absolutely. You got to call this guy. You got to call that guy. Uh, shit. Even when I went fishing with you in Seward, I was there to see Antigua Sean. And
Yeah.
Antigua Sean's like, hey, let's call out Captain Mandy. Go fishing with Captain Mandy. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
you usually learn something. It may be something you don't want to do or you do want to do, but you learn something when you go with people and go with a good guy. There's a reason that they're good guys, right? And so that was
Yeah.
super helpful though. Fishing with other people and seeing what they do is you can't do it all in a vacuum. You got to learn from other people. And
No. And
same
you got to
thing
be
here. I would have
humble.
never been able to catch anything out here if I didn't go with local guys and learn how to do it and imitate what they're doing and make a few modifications maybe. But the local knowledge is powerful in all these places. And if you can get some of that when you're traveling and take it home, boy, it's valuable.
There's a lot of things that I've taken from, you know what? I'm going to give you a good example. I'm sure you've heard about the live bait fishing off of in the Gulf of Mexico for blue marlin.
Hmm.
Uh, those guys picked it up in Panama. They learned it after going to Panama and Costa Rica chasing after black marlin, and once they passed the circle hook law, They're like, man, we got all these tunas. Why don't we put these tuna tubes like we do in Panama and Costa Rica and put them out here around these giant fads, which most people call oil rigs, and poof, next thing you know, it was this plethora of 800 pounders that showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Here too, you got guys now, Kona used to be like four lures, maybe five on every boat, no more. And now you got guys doing trolling dredges and doing the bait and switch on them. I mean, good guys, the best guys in the harbor are doing that now. And that's all in the last 4 or 5 years. That's an evolution that happened right before my eyes here, where everyone's not doing it and you can still catch them the other way, but I think for the sonar boats that can really find the fish and bring them up behind the boat, it's a natural evolution, right? And it's more interactive for everybody and it's more fun. And that's why people are picking it up here too. And you just watch all these changes, whether it's the sonar or the bait and switch or, fishing live bait at the fads, and you realize this whole fishing industry is just in a constant state of evolution. And sometimes it starts and stops, but and I think it makes it so interesting, that it's constantly changing and everybody's bringing their best game and innovating, and it's just fun to watch it happen.
Well, it definitely helps when you have a group of people that are uber competitive. You
Yeah.
know, it's listen, there's nobody happier in the world than me when I see my friend catch more fish than anybody else. But at the same time, that lights my fucking fire like you wouldn't believe. I love that you caught seven and I caught five, but I sure as fucking wish I caught nine and you caught seven.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way our industry is. So you're constantly innovating and people are constantly traveling back and forth and somebody from somebody somewhere else comes in and they talk and they share. And next thing you know, that information starts to grow.
Yeah. Look at how the daytime sword fishing thing spread, right? That
Oh,
was like some weird anomaly that some guy in wherever it was, Venezuela, was
Venezuela.
doing, right?
Yeah.
Like one or two guys figured it out there, and then it made its way to everywhere else. It's pretty
It doesn't
amazing.
matter where you go. I was even doing it out in Hawaii. I was not successful at it, but I tried it in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to pay attention to the lava flows. It's different. Lava flows are so different compared to flat sandbanks,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
they said here the squid are so aggressive here that it makes sword fishing more difficult. They're here, and there's certainly commercial longline boats are catching them, a couple hundred miles offshore here. And when we do see some come in at nighttime here, but I think the squid are so prevalent and aggressive here that the guys try to swordfish at night and the squid just devour their bait all night long and they spend the entire night swapping squids out instead of
Ugh.
and then yeah, that's I think that's what I've heard is the hang up here. I mean, they still catch them, but
Are
it's
you
interesting.
what kind of squids are you getting out there?
I don't, they're small squid. They're not the big ones.
They're not
They
the
look
big
like the ones we
Humboldts?
used to drag for. No, not the big Humboldts. They're like the ones we used to drag for in New England.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
like 8 inch long ones. And they're delicious to eat too. And there's a ton of them out here. I don't know. I think if somebody really put their heart into trying to catch swordfish at night here, they'd probably figure it out. I just think that it's hard when you don't experience success. You kind of get savaged by the squid to keep doing it. I'm kind of waiting for someone or figure out how to do it during the day. Someone will figure it out here. I'm sure they're here. It's just a matter of putting the time in and
I don't know. That sounds like a bullseye you could go after.
I'm
That
not
sounds,
quite there yet.
come on.
I might, if I see one, I might do it, but I have not caught one yet.
Yeah, listen, you're gonna get one night, and you're gonna copy that same thing over and over until you get a second one.
I think I need to go with someone at night. I need to go down to Florida and go with someone that's good at it at night and see what the game is really. And then, just like we were saying,
Yeah,
you learn from somebody else. Even here, I came here and I fished on a bunch of charter boats and kind of before I ever decided to buy a boat, I fished on a bunch of charter boats and saw what they were doing and decided which parts of it looked like it was fun to me and which didn't. And then I talked to some small boat guys, and that's sort of how I figured it out here. I mean, people were a little slow to give up the goods. It definitely took a couple of frustrating years of, you know, learning how to catch bait and where to fish and where you really shouldn't fish. And, it took a while to figure it out. It wasn't automatic, that's for sure. And people would give me advice and information, but only a little bit at a time. There was a lot of like vague reference. I'm like, why am I not catching these tunas and you are. And one of the guys told me it's timing and placement. And he left it at that. And I went home and I'm like, timing and placement, what is he talking about? And then I went back out again thinking about that and I saw exactly what he meant. He meant that if I put the bait out and I put it out too soon, then somebody would go behind me, or I put it out too soon, someone would go in front of me and put a bait out when the timing was right, when the fish were closer. And if I had timed it out right to when the fish were just about to pass the boat and then I put the bait out, then I would catch them. And it took me a while to figure out what he meant by that, but really that is placing the boat in front of the tuna and putting the bait out in such a way that someone else can't cut in front of you and put a bait out is the secret to catching them. And he told me that, but it was in a vague sort of Mr. Unagi way that I had to kind of wax off, wax on thing in my mind to figure it out. And I eventually did, but it was a helpful piece of information. Just took a while to figure it out, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely correct. It's like deciphering a code. Once you know how to program everything else, oh, it all lines up and it makes sense.
And what's the fun of someone giving you the keys to the castle? It's way better to get a few riddles and try and work your way through them than it is to just go, oh, just do this, this, and this, and you'll get them every time. Like that's too easy. You
Yeah,
got to
that
earn it a little
sucks.
bit, right?
You got to earn it because now you feel proud. You
Yeah.
show some sense of pride.
They
And
see
that,
it too. These guys all watch me floundering around out here for the first couple years, kind of laughing at me, calling me Santa Claus. And then and then you start catching a few fish and being in the right place at the right time. They're like, oh, he's figuring it out. And I think
uh,
that's the way to do it if you want to
have you been
be
called a
accepted.
haole yet?
Oh, all the time. It's not
Okay.
bad. Being
No,
a haole isn't a bad thing.
it,
Everybody's a haole that comes here, right? It's
no,
just
no,
they
it's
use in front of it. If they call you a fucking haole, well, then you've probably done something bad. If they
ah,
say, "Oh, that haole from Alaska," then it's fine. That's
yeah,
just what are.
it's as long as they put it after haole, not before.
It's what comes before it.
Yeah, I used to, uh, let me preface it not only to you, but anybody that might be listening across the world. I am not a surfer. No mean shape or form am I a surfer. But I don't drink. I don't go to bars. That's just not my thing. So when I was in Hawaii, I'm a single dude. People that have families, they go home to their families, and if not, they'll go hang out at the bar. I don't want to hang out at the bar. So I'd go to Kahalu, which was the old man
Yeah,
surf beach.
yeah.
And it was perfect because it was just a really cool, easy break. And I never learned how to steer the surfboard, but I could get up on it a little bit and on my knees and slide in there. And I had some guy paddle up to me. Hey, brah, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm talking. He goes, what island you from? And first of all, I was very happy that I didn't automatically get hit with a howley. But being Cuban, I got dark skin. You from the Big Island? I'm like, no. You from Maui, Oahu? No. I'm from Cuba. Where's that from, brah? I go about 7,000 miles that way. But after that, yeah, I loved my time out there. I'm still great friends with everybody out there.
Well, if you're here for a while and you understand a little bit about the culture and you put yourself in their position, like if some guy came to Seward, Alaska that was well funded by some investors and they brought in powerful boats and just started to try to do things their own way and not, you know, talk to the local people. And you can see how that might not go over well anywhere you went. And this is a small island with people that have lived here for generations. And my experience on these islands, all of them, is if you come there and you're a decent, honest person and you can respect people's differences and learn a little bit about their culture, this place is very welcoming. And the local Hawaiians are absolute salt of the earth, best people you'll ever spend time with. But it takes a while for them to warm up to you because you're not from here and you're new and different than them. And I don't think it's any different in a lot of places. And so it wouldn't be any different in Alaska. If people came in and they just wait and let you act a certain way, and then you reveal who you are. And if you act like a good person and they know it, you're good. And if you act like a dick, you're not going to stay here long. And it's fine. It's a sorting process that occurs. And uh, it's I, it's a great place. And I would encourage anyone to come here and just realize you're going to a different place and people are different here. And they're not bad. They're no different as human beings, but they're different culture. And, have a little respect for it, and it's all good.
Yeah, listen, it's very heavy on tradition. It's very heavy on tradition and family, which
Yeah.
is, to me, it was really cool. I enjoyed seeing that.
I mean, you feel like you're coming here and these are hallowed fishing grounds. There have been so many grander marlin caught here, and these guys that have been doing this for a long time have seen so much. You can't help but feel it when you go down that harbor in the morning and you see the history and the tradition and the incredible catches, and you go to the Kona Inn and all those big marlin are up on the wall, and they have a list of all the people that have caught them and all the captains. It's all part of the culture here all the way through. It's not just an act, it's real. And you just don't see that the way that it is here integrated. You go to the gas station and there's a grander marlin mount over the gas pumps. Like it's just part of the culture here, and it's so cool to be part of that, even if it's for a little bit of time in the history of it. You still see Marlin Parker out there fishing at 75 years old, catching beautiful fish, and it's just cool to see it all in real time. It's been
Is he
coming over here and
75
fishing.
already?
Yeah. But you come over here and you fish around these people and you feel like you're in a special place for sure. And I don't forget it ever when I'm on the water. It's awesome
No,
to be over here.
that's good. Now, what you head up end of May?
No, I'm heading up in April. I do oil spill response with my boat and have some other stuff going on. So I come up and I'm going to come back in April to Alaska. I do oil spill response. I get my boat all set up, and then I come back here when the Onos show up. The wahoos come up here and get close in the shore, and there's killer fishing for those usually in the springtime. And so I'll come back for a few weeks and fish for those, and then I start fishing, come back to Alaska and start fishing immediately around May 15th.
When you say oil spill response, what do you mean by that? I just
So what
because I'm
happened
not a
was when the oil spill occurred in Alaska years ago, the Exxon Valdez oil spill, what they did is they required to have a massive response should that ever happen again. And so there's a certain number of fishing boats that are on contract with the Alyeska Pipeline Service Corporation to respond. You have to respond within 24 hours of an oil spill. We have to be on premises in Prince William Sound to tow booms or do whatever. I'm a wildlife boat, so my boat's set up to go ashore and pull oiled wildlife on board and then take it to a place where they can treat it. And so every year we get training for like wildlife oil spill response. And then we go do a drill on the water in April where, they'll put rubber animals on the beach and they'll cover them with peanut butter, and we have to go land the boat and get them and wipe them off and take care of them and register what they are. And so it's just a few days of work, but it's pretty lucrative, and I've been doing it forever. It's not really the kind of thing you want to give up. And so I go back and prepare the boat for that cold April training. And then there's this lag that occurs from the middle of April to the middle of May where, I mean, I could be there, but why would I when I can fly back over here and go stack 30 or 40 wahoo in the box for a couple weeks and then come back. And
yeah.
it's hard to
It,
say no to Hawaii when it's just a 5 hour plane ride away.
that's what most people don't understand. It's not very far.
No, it's 3.5 hours to get to Seattle. And so Hawaii is the most logical place to go that's warm and has blue water fish. And I mean, we traveled to Mexico when I was younger and vacationed there and stuff. We looked at it. I just don't want to live in Mexico.
I don't
Not being,
blame you.
I mean, it's just a different country, and here it's not. And I don't know. I'm so glad we came here, though. This is just a great spot to be. And a lot of Alaskans here. And I think the Hawaiians like Alaskans because we're pretty self-sufficient. We can fix our own stuff. And, we grow vegetables and eat them here and hunt animals much like the local Hawaiians do. It's like I think the thing that probably turns them off the most is people that treat them like the help and that can't do things for themselves and they're kind of helpless. And that's the kind of thing that Alaskans generally aren't like that. Just because of the rural nature of living in Alaska, it makes you well suited to being on the Big Island, which is pretty rural too. And so, we can go kill a pig whenever we want to, or smoke fish here or can albacore or anything else like that people do when they live in the country. And so, yeah.
That's my mechanic when I was out there, Jason. He was from Alaska. Great mechanic too.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth. We have there's a bunch of Hawaiians from Maui that fish in Maui during the winter months and then work on the boats in Seward. And then I guess in Sitka and Homer, there's guys from Molokai that go work at those two places. And then, they work a 3-month season and make a decent living and then go back to Hawaii and live the life there without having the financial constraint that not having a decent job gives you. And so it's kind of a back and forth deal. There's a lot of commuting that goes, which is funny because even though there are a lot of similarities, they're also so different.
Ooh,
But being disconnected and being one of the two states that's out of the contiguous states, it makes people be a little more independent. And, I think that's the connection.
I think that you're exactly right. That is a huge connection because you're really removed either way. That was for me, that was the hardest thing when I was out in Hawaii was being so far removed, especially because I'm an East Coast guy. You
Yeah.
know, it's one of those things. If you broke something after lunch, you're screwed because
Yeah.
everything's shut down on the East Coast. I don't know anybody in California. Well, I do
Yeah.
now, but back then I didn't. I was just getting my contacts in California and stuff like that. And I'd have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to answer an email from my mechanic, from my parts guy to get it shipped to me.
Yeah, I have to be careful who I send a text message to from here. It's like it works out good to text people on the East Coast in the morning because they're already awake.
Yeah.
But you
I,
do it at
to,
night and you're
to,
probably
to,
waking them
to
up.
me, it's not a big deal. I tell everybody, don't worry about me because my phone's always on silent.
Me too. I don't do
Yeah,
that.
I
I
don't.
don't get interrupted by my phone anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to. If anything, it's funny because when we first got on, I had the phone up and I saw a flash and I'm like, don't flash it in my face. It's down when I'm talking to somebody. I talk to somebody. Yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
other than the World Cup, but I got people fishing all over the world. So that's a different story. That's a different story. So, have we missed anything? Is there anything that we should cover?
Um, I don't know. I think we got a pretty broad discussion here about all this stuff. And
Yeah, listen, the two things I wanted to actually, there was three things I wanted to cover. I wanted to cover your fishing in Hawaii. I really wanted to cover your fishing in Alaska. And then I really wanted to touch base on you being in the Hall of Fame because to me, I thought that was really cool. I love that IGFA has reached outside of just the East Coast and being my friendship with you and knowing you, I thought that was so cool that they reached out to you.
well,
And
also that they're acknowledging that a lot of these great catches that have been made have been on guided boats with charter boat captains that were the ones driving the boat. And, I've always felt like the IGFA has leaned into the achievement of the angler on the rod, but maybe didn't always lean into the fact that the guide or captain plays a critical role and the deckhand, critical
yeah,
role in those successes, probably the most important role. Probably the deckhand has the most important role on a world record fish on light tackle. And so it's nice that they're recognizing people, and it's a nice thing to do for people that have worked hard and not made that much money fishing. I mean, it's generally not, most of the charter boat captains that have seemed to do best end up selling yachts to people when in between charters or doing something else that's more or insurance or something that's more lucrative than taking people fishing. And so it's nice that they recognize these hardworking fishermen, and the criteria for that award is awesome because you're picked by your peers, and it can be anyone living or dead, and there's a certain number every year. So if you're on that committee and you're going to do it for 10 years and you're only allowed to pick 4 people living or dead a year, it is a very exclusive club of people that get selected for that. It's not like they're giving that thing out to everybody. And so I was super grateful for all that and happy to see the IGFA move to provide a little recognition for hardworking crews on the boats. That was really great.
yeah, no, I think it's phenomenal, and I'm a big fan of the IGFA. I'm a huge fan of them. I've been a rep for a bunch of years, and considering that I host so many events, you got to kind of know the rules. So,
Yeah.
I and listen, I get calls all the time. It's not just my tournaments. I get calls from all over the world. I had a guy reach out to me just recently from South Africa. Hey, I got a question for you. What can this, and I'm glad I can help, you know.
Yeah, and the thing about the IGFA is I enjoy it and I like to know what the rules are and I like to follow the rules when I'm sport fishing, but it still doesn't mean I can forget about the rules and grind in tunas on an electric reel all night long if that's what I want to do. It's like you're not bound by those rules all the time, but it's good to know what they are and decide if you're comfortable following them all the time and sometimes not, sometimes if I have a gnarly big eye tuna next to the boat, I'm going to want to shoot that thing in the head. I don't want to gaff it. I want to make sure it's dead before I pull it in. And, while that might be frowned upon in a tournament, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You don't need to follow those rules all the time. If you're not, fishing for
Mike
world records, it's fine. Do
Mike
whatever.
Leach, who was the president for many, many years and who I took over the spot as tournament director for the World Cup, he always told me, listen, the IGFA rules aren't really rules, they're guidelines. It's not, your fish doesn't count if it's not caught by IGFA. It's just if, when you're fishing or you're trying to catch a world record, these are the guidelines you need to follow for it to be on the same playing field as everybody else.
That's a great description of it.
To me, it was the perfect description. And like my tournaments in the Bahamas that I got coming up next month, it's except for hook in hand, I allow it to be hooked and handed off once as soon as possible. And I use that soon as possible because sometimes people are like, oh, you got to pass it off in the first minute. I'm like, well, what happens if your boss is in the head and he has to flush the toilet and come back up and it's 90 seconds? I don't want you to, boss, hurry up, or somebody as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Get them out here, give them the rod, because for me, what I'm trying to accomplish, and this is the whole purpose of the rules or the guidelines, is I want as much participation as possible by everybody. I want people to come to these particular events, and I want you to catch fish, but I also want you to enjoy your boat, and I want you to enjoy the marina and the resort. And I don't want you to come back and be upset because your boss missed one because he was on the phone, or that his daughter wanted to hook her own or his daughter wanted to catch one, so she had to hook her own fish and she missed it. No, hook the fish and then, grab their 12-year-old grandson or granddaughter and give them the rod and go. We
It's
have
still
to
a
have,
crazy angling achievement for someone to reel in a big marlin on
yeah.
a rod and reel, whether they carry the rod over themselves or they get it handed over. It's still,
It's a great achievement. And I don't listen, and you hunt, I hunt. The craziest thing, which I still get, is buck fever. Oh my God, there's that 12 point I've been waiting for all season. He's coming and you're shaking. And listen, I don't want the entire tournament riding on somebody that only gets to see one a year and then they mess it up and then they feel it's their fault. I don't want that. I want you
yeah,
to come and have a good time. So here's the guidelines, and you can put whatever exceptions you want around it, you know? And as long as you know that, listen, everybody's playing by this rule. This is IGFA has great guidelines. We're going to follow all of them except this one. We're going to make a modified to that one so that everybody can participate.
yeah. No, I think there'd be nothing more frustrating than bringing a big yacht down to participate in a tournament in the Bahamas and then had your catch be disqualified because you were at a minute and 10 seconds that the thing got handed. Okay, I can only imagine. You definitely are doing the right
I
thing.
don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be that guy. Listen, I just I want you to prove you caught it. That's, you know,
Yeah.
you caught it. You didn't get it handed off from another boat. No, you caught it. You show me a video of it. I'm not looking for a reason to disqualify you. Um, I'm I just want proof of catch, you know? And I get it. Some tournaments aren't like that. These, I want people. Listen, my goal is I want to see how many people are sitting at the pool bar drinking after the thing. I've had more owners come to me after the fact saying, I love your hours. I love the fact that I could hang out with everybody else and drink at the pool. Yeah, from 8 to 3, dinner starts at 6 while the guys are cleaning up the boat. Owner and his wife and kids can go up and have a frosty beverage, a Bahama Mama, a pina colada, whatever it
Sounds
is
good.
that, yeah, whatever it is that you enjoy. That's your thing. I want you to enjoy your boat. If you're using your boat and you're having a good time, you're going to use it more often. You know,
Absolutely.
that's the way I see it, and it keeps more people in our sport and people happy. Oh, honey, I know we're going on this cruise, but I know how much you love catching fish in the Bahamas. Maybe while we're in Alaska, we can go catch some salmon. Okay, I'll do that with you for a half day if you'll go on a gorge trip with me, and we can see some killer whales.
Yeah, that's totally what it's about. Same thing.
Exactly. No, you have to have fun. You have to have fun on the boat. I'm a big thing about having fun. If I'm not having fun, life is too short. These 52 years went by way fucking fast, you know?
Absolutely.
So I want to have a good time, and if I'm not having a good time, I don't want to do it. I want to do something else, and I want to offer that to everybody.
I think that's a healthy way to look at fishing for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a healthy way to look at life.
Absolutely.
So, Captain Andy, I want to say thank you so much.
Hey, it's great to catch up with you again, man.
Man, I was so excited when you jumped at the chair as soon as hey, you want to jump on my podcast? Absolutely. I didn't even have to sell you on the idea. Some people like, what do I got to do? No, you were like right all about it. So I
Well, I
appreciate
saw
it.
my old friend Charlie Levine was on one with you, and I watched part of that, and I thought it'd
I
be good
love
to do it
Charlie.
again.
He's such a good dude. I've known Charlie for such a long time.
Yeah, he is a good guy.
He's a good dude. Hold on right there for a second. Don't hang up. Uh, Captain Andy, thank you so much. How do people get a hold of you if they want to charter your boat?
Probably the easiest way is on the internet. My website is Graylight Alaska, and that's the same name on Instagram. If you can look on Instagram, you can follow and see what I've been catching here and in Alaska. And so Graylight Alaska, GrayLight
All right.
Alaska.com.
Everybody, go check out Captain Ant. You will have a good time. I promise you that. You take my word on it because we had a fucking ball. And it was raining and cold, and we still had a good fucking time.
We did. That's a great video. We're getting pummeled coming out of that bay.
Oh my God. We were getting the shit kicked out of us. All right, hold on a second. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys taking your time to hang out with us today, and we will check you guys later.